It's now time to hear from our Liberal Party representative, Stephen Del Duca, the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. Stephen Del Duca was first elected to the Ontario Legislature in September 2012 and had the chance to serve as Minister of Transportation and as Minister of Economic Development and Growth. In March of 2020, Stephen was elected as the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. Since becoming leader, Stephen has been focused on building an Ontario where genuine opportunity is real for everyone and where nurses and healthcare professionals have the resources and working conditions they need to support themselves, their families, and their communities. Stephen, his wife, 2 daughters, and 2 dogs are proud residents of Vaughan. We are so pleased to have you with us, Stephen.
Well, good evening, and thanks so much, Morgan. I really appreciate your kind introduction. And I'm really thrilled that you mentioned the 2 dogs that we have, Sammy and Hunter. And the reason, I mean, of course, I'm happy you mentioned my wife and my daughters too, don't get me wrong, but I'm happy you mentioned the dogs because lately, especially our younger dog, he's very much a pandemic dog. And lately they have both figured out timing wise how to bark and make a lot of noise when I join Zoom calls or do media. So if you happen to hear barking, I just want you all to know that's the dogs. It's not my daughters. My daughters are in different parts of the house doing what they should be doing. One's in grade 8, one's in grade 4. Really happy that the end of the school year is only a couple of days away. So they're pretty boisterous this evening as well. Look, I'm really, really delighted and honored, in fact, that you've given me the chance to be here with all of you tonight. I want to say right off the top, how grateful I am. Forget the politics about this, but how grateful I am as an Ontarian. As someone whose parents are getting a bit older, who's got a family here, to have seen the work that Ontario's registered nurses and healthcare professionals right across the province have done for years pre-pandemic has always been something that has just been a marvel for me. But to have watched you take your profession and your dedication and your spirit to incredible levels above and beyond what you've always managed to do I don't even have words. And Doris will know that I'm never at a lack of words. I'm never at a shortage of words, but to have literally witnessed the heroic work that you've done. And I know everybody talks about the heroism, and that's getting a little bit cliche and overused. And it's become far too easy, I'll say, for politicians of all stripes to hide behind the word and not back it up with meaningful, competent action. And that's got to change. But I just wanted to say, as an Ontarian, you have my profound gratitude for the exceptional work that you have done, that you've always done, but in particular during these last 15, 16, 17 months. And I've had the chance since becoming leader to hear from you directly on a number of different occasions about not just pointing out where more needs to be done, though that advocacy that you do is phenomenal, always has been, but also providing positive, constructive guidance that I think politicians, again, at all levels and of all stripes, should take great care to not ignore going forward. You know, I think there's no doubt about the fact that we all want to build a strong and responsive and resilient publicly funded healthcare system in this province that's there for everybody, regardless of what your circumstances are, regardless of where you live in Ontario. And to think that we'll be able to accomplish that without listening to the women and men of the RNAO, without listening to the rest of the women and men who work on the front lines in healthcare, would be a fatal mistake. Now, I don't want to get overly partisan tonight. I think it's safe to say, based on what we've seen by and large, I have concerns, and I'm saying this in the most nonpartisan way possible. I have grave concerns about whether the current government will listen as closely as they should to you and your advice and guidance. But here's what I know for sure. I know that whether or not they're listening the way they should, I know that your advocacy and your heroism and your tenacity will not stop, because it's never stopped. So whether we're talking about the need to make sure we do have more registered nurses and nurse practitioners in Ontario, I know you're not going to stop, and you can count on me and Ontario Liberals to be partners. Whether you're talking about the repeal of Bill 124, I know you're not going to stop. And again, you can count on me and Ontario Liberals to be partners. Whether we're talking about exactly what we need to see in healthcare coming out of this pandemic, there's been so much disruption. There's been so much disruption in every part of our life, including in how healthcare is and can be delivered. But I don't want to be tone deaf, and I don't think we can afford to have our leaders be tone deaf in this regard. So even though we might not always agree about every single thing, here is the ironclad commitment that I give you, that you will always have the chance to make the case. You will always have in me and in Ontario Liberals, individual women and men who will listen genuinely to the advice and guidance that you are giving. I might have some tough questions, and I know that you, Doris, and the rest of the team will have tough questions for me. I know your new executive, everyone else across this province will have tough questions and tough advice from me. And sometimes it might not be things, there goes one of my dogs right now. Sometimes it might be some things that I don't necessarily want to hear. But if we are going to build a resilient and strong and responsive universal public healthcare system for me and my family, for my mom and dad, for my daughters, we have to do it together. And it has to be done in collaboration. And we have to not be afraid to have that honest and authentic conversation about how to get from where we are today, given all that we've learned in the run up to and during this pandemic, and where we need to go next. Lastly, I'm going to finish off by telling you, I am so thrilled. Currently, there are 2 out of our 42 Ontario Liberal Party candidates are in fact nurses. And I believe, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, I believe we're about to add to that roster in the next few weeks and another riding, which will put us at 3 out of less than 45. And I'm sure there will be more. And I'm thrilled about the fact that we've had nurses who stepped forward and said, we are dedicated to public service. We are dedicated to healthcare. We are dedicated to the nearly 15 million people who call this province home. And we've decided to take our energy and our vocational spirit and our dedication to that progress we all want to see. And we've decided to put our names on the line, given our expertise and given what we've seen on the front lines in healthcare. And they are young and they are dynamic and they truly do represent the very best of your profession. And I'm thrilled about that. And you have my word that those candidates and the rest of our team will again be very respectful, always listen and fight with you to produce the outcomes that the people of Ontario deserve. And so with that, congratulations on what you've accomplished so far. But again, I know you're not going to stop and I don't want you to stop. Keep pushing, keep advocating, keep telling me when we're getting it wrong. That's the best way to learn. And together we will find a way through the balance of this pandemic. We will get more nurses hired. You will be properly compensated. Healthcare will be valued by a government at Queen's Park that truly believes in progress. And we'll find a way to do that in the best Ontario way possible, which is working together. Thank you so much. Please stay safe and healthy. And again, thank you for everything that you do for all of us.